Welcome to Secret Story. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel. My name is D. I am a 43-year-old mother to three. 24 years ago, I married my middle school sweetheart. Terry and I met in elementary school and were always friends. Once we got older and hit puberty, we discovered the opposite, and we started dating at the end of the 7th grade. Like everyone else, we said we were dating when we only would talk on the phone. We went out on an actual date when we were in 9th grade. That we lived in a tiny town. It was the type of town where everyone knew everyone. We all went to church on Sundays. Went to the church barbecues, and the county fairs. Terry and I dated since the 9th grade. Terry and I went to state college and left our small town behind. It was a culture shock for us both. The fun times were not holism community events. Now, it was partying, drinking, and going to bars. I got a lot of attention in high school and college. My 5'8" frame, with my long blonde hair, always caught the eyes of others. Although I would get many propositions, I was faithful to Terry. We were raised on those values, and I was sticking to them. We finished college, Terry graduating with a business degree and me with a communications degree. Terry was offered a job with a firm in the city. I wasn't that lucky. I was sending out my resumes but got no offers. I returned home and worked clerking at a law firm I worked at through high school. Terry and I stayed together in a long-distance relationship for 6 months. He returned home for a visit and proposed to me. I quickly said yes. We made plans for us to get married and we would buy a house in the suburbs. Our dreams came true within a year as we married and closed on a house. I was not actively searching for a job since Terry didn't feel I needed to work. Before long, I was pregnant with our first child. Our son was born, with another son and daughter to follow. We were so happy living our dream. Terry worked hard and made very good money to support us all. And I was the happy housewife and mom. As the kids grew older, Terry and I could not have as much alone time as we always had. I was frustrated but accepted that it was what we had to put on hold to raise a family. The kids got older. Our oldest was now 15, an active teenager, and very busy. My days seemed empty now. I searched for things to stay involved in, but nothing kept my interest for long. One day, as I went through my closet to get rid of some of the older clothes I had accumulated, it hit me. I took a long look in the mirror and noticed I was not the woman I used to be. I was always complimented on my looks and my figure. I wasn't heavy, but I put on a few more pounds than I am accustomed to having. I needed to tone my body up and decided that since I had a lot of time during the day, I would join a gym and get back into shape. I stood in the mirror and started to look where I thought I needed to concentrate when I began my workouts. At 43, gravity was starting to take its effect. I told Terry what my intentions were that night. Not like he cared, but he did tell me to do as I wished. The following day, I went to a gym only a few miles from our house. They asked me what I was looking for in joining the gym. I told them what my hopes were. They signed me up, and with my membership, I was set up with a personal trainer for the first 4 visits, so I have a routine to work on my goals. I made my first appointment with the trainer for tomorrow morning. My trainer was Sam. He was in shape, and I could tell he had worked out for a long time. Through my visits, we would talk, and I found out Sam had been working out since he was a teen. He played football and got a scholarship to play in college, where he studied nutrition and physical education. I met with Sam for the 4 sessions, and he told me that if I followed the routine he set up for me, I should see some results quickly. I started my journey the next day and followed Sam's routine to the T. The gym was very friendly and kept clean. As the days went on, I would meet the regulars there. They were all very friendly and helpful. I enjoyed going there. As the weeks went by, I could see a difference in my appearance. I lost weight. My abs were tightening up to where I was starting to wear crop tops to show them off. I felt so good about myself. I began to dress differently. I was wearing tighter clothes going to the gym. I stopped wearing baggy soccer shorts and a sweatshirt and started wearing either yoga shorts, yoga pants. I even noticed my son's friends sneaking glances at me. I have heard statements that they made referring to me as the MILF. I felt good about how I looked and how the people complimented me on my new look. Everyone except Terry, that is, he didn't even seem to notice. As the weeks passed, I looked forward to going to the gym for the workout and the friendships I cemented with others. One of the guys was very standoffish. He didn't interact much with others. Jamal was a tall black man with a well-defined body. He didn't bother anyone. If I said hello to him, he would nod and reply. He wanted to get his workout in and get on his way. I could respect him for that. One day, I was starting a new set on the bench press and put on a heavier weight. We usually worked together and would spot for the other, but no one seemed to be around then. I thought to myself, I would be okay. I should be able to do this. I started my set, and near the last few reps, I could feel my arms getting tired. I struggled with the previous rep and didn't think I would make it. Then I felt it get lighter as Jamal saw me struggling and came to my assistance. I felt relieved that he was there and thanked him. He warned me that I shouldn't be lifting without a spotter. It's too dangerous. I told him I was well aware of the dangers, but no one was around when I started. He told me to look for him whenever I needed a spotter. He would be happy to help me. That day, we changed everything between Jamal and me. He and I became gym buddies and got to know each other well. We not only worked out together, but we got to know each other personally as well. He knew about my kids and husband. He couldn't believe I was 43 and had 3 kids. He said I must be the MILF in my son's peer group. That is when I grasped how the workouts have been transforming me. I have to be honest. I learned a great deal about Jamal as well. I learned he was 23 years old, single, and worked swing shifts at a warehouse. That explains why some weeks we would never see him. He worked days and would work out at night. I missed Jamal during the weeks he worked days. There was an emptiness at the gym when he wasn't there. Although I must confess that I can't say the void wasn't there when he was there. Life at home wasn't improving between Terry and me. I felt like a young schoolgirl every time I was around Jamal. My heart pounded. Our ritual was that after workouts, we would walk out together, and Jamal would walk me to my car as we talked. I don't know where I got the courage, but I asked Jamal if he wanted a coffee before going home. After asking, I felt like time had stopped, afraid that I had made a fool of myself because I asked. I was relieved when Jamal agreed. Jamal told me he would drive and bring me back to my car. We went to a local coffee shop about 3 miles away. We sat on their patio since it was such a lovely day and continued our conversation. I asked him if anyone was in his life, and he assured me that he and his last girlfriend were done. He went on to say it was a nasty breakup. I reached across the table, touching his hand and telling him how sorry I was. At that moment, I realized how deep my feelings for Jamal went. Jamal referred to how he would love to find someone to have a long-term relationship with, as I have with Terry. Without thinking, I told him there was no such relationship. Things never look like they are. I saw a look of concern on his face. He reached across for my hand. He asked me whether I was okay. I guess I had it in me for too long because I do not know where it came from, but the floodgates opened, and I told Jamal everything about how my life is non-existent and how Terry hasn't touched me for 2 years now. Jamal was so supportive and gave me comfort. We talked for a long time, and he made me feel much better. We finished our coffee and made our way to Jamal's car. We got in the car, and I reached over, touching Jamal's arm. I thanked him for being there for me. Then, without thinking, I leaned over and kissed Jamal on his lips. He didn't protest. Jamal reacted to me. Jamal whispered, asking me if I wanted to go to his place. I wanted him. I'd thought about him for months now. I was not going to stop now. I nodded my head yes. Jamal started his car and drove a short distance to his apartment. We quickly walked up to his apartment, and as soon as we entered I couldn't believe I would do this, but I knew I wanted it. Although I was much older than Jamal, I was more inexperienced than him. I couldn't wait any longer. If I did, I would chicken out. I would wonder how it was. It must have been enjoyable, or so many people wouldn't do it. Well, this was my time to find out. Who was this lady? I have never anything like this. I collapsed, just lying there, not saying a word. I couldn't move or want to until I noticed the time. I had to hurry home to ensure I met my kids when they arrived. I cleaned up and said my goodbyes. I quickly got everyone out of the house the following day and headed to the gym. I got to the gym before Jamal did, but when he walked in. While Jamal was warming up, I walked over to him and whispered to him. "You look like you're going to need some cardio later." He smiled at me, asking, "You willing to give me that hard cardio?" I smiled and winked at him as I replied, "You bet I am." We finished our workout routine and spent the rest of the afternoon getting our heart rates up at Jamal's place. Did we get our heart rates up? Jamal and I have continued. I will always be grateful to him. He gave me the confidence to put myself out there where I have communicate with other, both young and old, at the mall, grocery store, park. I have continued and will continue to make up for all those years. Yes, I know, but I have embraced that title and am very proud of it. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author. All characters are fictitious, and any similarity to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental unless otherwise stated. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel. Story 2, Welcome to Secret Story. It was early on a Friday evening in June. Our two kids, John, 8, and April, 5, were at my parents' house for their 3-week summer visit. I grew up on a farm, and it was always fun to learn all about farm animals, swimming in a dammed-up creek, riding on the farm machines, and eating my mom's awesome cooking. This year was the second visit for our kids, and they were as excited to go to the farm as we were to have the time together while they were away. I had come home today from a 3-day business trip, the last one for a month, and was excited to be able to do whatever Holly wanted to do for the next 19 days before the kids came back home. I had scheduled some days off next week for a surprise 4 days in Jamaica that Holly knew nothing about. We have been to hedonism too several times and always like the freedom to express ourselves to each other, being naked on the beach and making love whenever we want and almost any place we want to. We enjoy the theme parties and games we play, are always randy after, and can't wait to ravage each other. Tomorrow night was our first date night in a couple of weeks, and I had made a reservation at the Chop House in Buckhead. Then we would go dancing for the rest of the night. We finished dinner and cleaned up together. I poured 2 glasses of wine to finish the bottle, and we sat out on the deck looking up at the stars. It was a clear night, and with all the lights off in the house, it was extremely dark. Tonight's sky was brilliant, with millions of stars twinkling from millions of miles away. Many of the stars we saw had already burned out, and we were witnessing history, not real time. I finished my wine and went inside to open another bottle when my cell phone dinged. I opened a bottle of Jordan Cabernet from the wine cooler, letting it breathe. I picked up my phone and saw it was from an unknown number. I was about to erase them since I never open messages I don't recognize. There is too much spam and too many viruses out there. A third text came in from the same number marked urgent. It got my attention, so I opened it. The text, Sid, don't trash the 2 other texts. You have to see them. You will not be happy, but I must share this with you. You don't deserve what is happening. If you want to know more, text me back. Your good anonymous friend. What was this? Who was this anonymous friend, and why was he sending me a cryptic text? I poured 2 glasses of wine and stood looking at my phone. Did I dare open the 2 texts? From the third message, it seemed that I needed to see them. So what the hell? I opened the first text and video file. The text: Sid, sorry you have to see and experience this. It happened on Tuesday night this week. I am so sorry, what the hell was this? I had to see the video now. I clicked it open. The scene was in a bar, and people were dancing in a large crowd. The video scanned around and stopped on a couple dancing quite close to each other. The woman had her back to the camera, and the man looked away, but he resembled an old friend of mine, Thad Rhymes, who had moved away several years ago. I had been waiting to hear from him since he left. The video focused on them, so I studied the picture as they danced. This went on until the song ended. They separated, turning toward the camera. I cannot explain the feeling that overwhelmed me when I saw their faces clearly after a sweet kiss was given to the man by my wife, Holly. There are no words to describe the devastating pain I felt in my heart and the instant nausea that caused me to run to the powder room and retch up my guts. I slumped to the floor and shook, then vomited again until nothing was left. I locked the door and lay there, afraid to examine text number 2. I finally took a deep breath and opened it. The video played. It must have been later, outside in the parking lot. The lights were bright, and there on the screen were Holly and Thad Rhymes in the back seat of an SUV, making out like teenagers. I threw up again, but it was just dry heaves now. Nothing was left but bile. The door handle turned back and forth. It was Holly. I closed the text and put my phone in my pocket. Sid, what is going on? Are you okay? Why is the door locked? Open it, please. I didn't want to see Holly right then, so I ignored her. She banged on the door, demanding I open it. But I just sat there, totally confused by what I had just seen. I was bewildered. There are no words to describe the pain that consumed my whole body. I had just seen my wife of 11 years dancing. I finally stood and opened the door. Holly was standing right there. As the door opened, our eyes met. I saw loving concern in Holly's eyes, and Holly saw pain and devastation in mine. Sid, are you okay? What happened? I ignored her for a second, then came to my senses and spoke. God, I don't know. I went in to get more wine, and suddenly, I felt sick and had to vomit. I ran to the bathroom and closed the door. I vomited up everything from dinner and anything else that was in there. It wasn't good. I feel better now. I need to wash up and think I will go to bed. There was a sincere look of concern on Holly's face as she asked, "Are you sure you are okay?" I lied, yes, it must have been something that didn't agree with me. Yeah, me seeing my wife me. You think? Okay, I will clean up and be right up. I didn't want to be anywhere near Holly now, but what could I do? I could cut to the chase and show her the videos, get down to it right now, and not agonize over it any longer. I didn't know her possible explanation and was unsure how to stay married if she cheated on me. Thank God the kids were not here. I thought about divorce. I also know adultery is a crime in this state and definitive grounds for a quick 90-day divorce. Did I want that? As I showered, the door opened, and Holly stepped in. They are world-class. I had taught her well over the years. I also wondered if he had sampled anything else. It made my skin crawl thinking that he had. Are you feeling better? A little, still upset, though. Yeah, not my stomach, but at you. She turned me around and looked into my eyes as the water cascaded over us. She saw nothing, just a dead face, no emotions. Her reaction was total confusion. I finished washing and pulled away from her, stepping out of the shower without a word, leaving Holly standing there alone, with water raining down on her. I dried, brushed my teeth. I placed my phone on the bedside table in case I decided to expose her now. I was seriously considering that now was the right time. It would be out, and if we were divorcing, we would have a couple of weeks to work out the details before the kids came home. I lay with my eyes closed, trying to understand what could have happened to motivate Holly to cheat with Thad. From what I hear, he was divorced 3 times and had difficulty keeping a job. Thad left here after having an affair that wrecked his second marriage. Then I heard he got married again and divorced once more, all of them because he was a chronic cheater. How had he pulled Holly into his web? Then, a terrible thought hit me. That thought pissed me off, then, a horrible thought hit me right in the gut. What if April, my youngest, wasn't mine but was Thad's child? I was ending this tonight. I kept my eyes closed, showing no expression. The night light from the bathroom was all there was. So it was fairly dark. My mind and willpower were strong as I fought hard, playing the video images in my head. I began to soften again. I softened more until Holly pulled away and looked at me with confusion on her face. I had never in all our years together not responded, yet tonight I had. This confounded her. Okay, what the hell is going on, Sid? First, you instantly got sick. I ate the same as you, and I feel fine. Then you have no life in your face and the shower, and just now, you do not respond to me. Something is going on. What is it? I looked at Holly, and reaching up, I turned on the lamp. I sat up against the headboard and looked at her. Once again, I showed no emotion. Holly, we were having a wonderful evening. I was looking forward to spending 3 weeks not having the kids. How wonderful it was not to have the kids for a few weeks. We could reconnect and strengthen our love for each other. We were sitting on the deck, looking up at the incredible sky. It was so romantic, and Holly, I was so happy and at peace with you. I went inside to get more wine, and my phone dinged. I ignored it, and then it dinged again. I looked at it, and the text said it was urgent. I reached over and picked up my phone. I opened the third text and handed the phone to Holly. She had a strange look on her face as she read the text and handed me the phone back. She said nothing. As you can imagine, my interest was piqued, so I opened the anonymous friend's first text. Just as I said that, Holly gasped, "Oh God, no, Sid." I opened the video and let it play. The music and noise were enough. Holly crumbled to the bed, pulling the sheet up over her head. She screamed, "Oh God, forgive me, I am so sorry." Then she began to sob loudly. I started the second video and lifted the sheet, sliding the phone under her face. "Holly, look at the video. Please confirm that for me." I was mean and nasty to Holly. I yanked the sheet completely off of her and moved up on my knees. She was in a fetal position, shaking and sobbing. I looked down at her, leaning over inches from her face. I screamed at her, "I am married to a cheating. What should I do with her? What should I do?" Holly screamed, "Oh God, no." And rolled out of bed, ran to the bathroom, and slammed the door. I lay there for a minute, dressed in shorts and a tee, and went to my office. I work from home when I am not traveling. I am an independent IT consultant working in the cybersecurity area these days. This week, I was away meeting with Homeland Security on a 3-year contract to teach their anti-cyber terrorist section on the ever-changing hacking landscape. You might ask, how in the hell did you get into that? I was a hacker in college and worked a lot on the dark web. I am a knowledge sponge. I can remember anything I do once and always remember it. They call it eidetic memory. Anything I do or see or have done is logged in my head and can instantly be recalled. I don't broadcast this ability, and Holly doesn't understand it. It has come in very helpful, and I astound people, especially in negotiations or complex documents. I am also a speed reader, so as I read a manual, contract, or other document, I remember every word and instantly recall phrases or paragraphs upon request. Why is this important? I have watched the 2 videos twice in full and have them locked in my memory. I can repeat every word on the videos verbatim, even the whispers said by anyone. As I think through the videos, I think I know the identity of my anonymous friend. It is Carol Wilson, a friend of mine from my poker club. Yes, I am a hold'em poker player and do quite well, given my memory. Carol, Holly, and I have been to a couple of poker tournaments in Vegas, and we had a great time out drinking and partying one night after I lost out. I was sure that Holly would not remember Carol, but Carol once told me that if anything ever happened and Holly and I split, she wanted me. I never thought much about that because Holly and I were solid, or at least we were. I was wrong. As I watched the videos, I could hear the photographer saying things under her breath. God. Sid, I am so sorry. You are a good man. Then in the second video, it was almost 10:30 p.m. I called Carol. The phone rang several times, and then she answered, "Thank you." I started with, there was silence. "Carol, I know it was you, wasn't it?" Still silence. "Carol, speak to me, please. I am okay." "Well, Sid, I am not." But I didn't. It wasn't my place. This time, I was silent, shocked at what Carol had said. I did the next best thing. I sent you the videos I took. Sorry for all this, but you had to know. Thank you for telling me and showing me what you saw. I do have questions you may be able to answer. Can you help me further? I will try. What do you want to know? Can you tell me what you saw from the beginning and what else you saw and not on the videos? I need details. Okay, let me start with, I saw Holly with several other women having drinks and fending off the men that were hitting on them. I was with another group. We were dancing and drinking too. As the night progressed, I went to the restroom and heard two women talking as I was peeing. One of them was Holly. She told the other woman that a man she used to know was in the club and he wanted her to dance with him. She was uncomfortable doing that, so she was going to leave. They left the ladies' room, and I left as well. There was a man in the hallway who stopped Holly. I moved by them. And I never thought anything about it until I went to the bar for a drink and saw Holly dancing very cozy with the guy. That was the first video. I moved around, watching them. After the dance, they moved to a table in the back of the club, talking intently. Holly was very emphatic and, at one point, got up and returned to the other table with her friends. I danced a couple of dances and was over near the door when I saw Holly and the man walk out of the club. That disturbed me, so I broke from my dance and followed them. As I got to the door, they were right outside kissing passionately. I stopped and watched them. When the kiss broke, Holly said, "Okay, just this once, then you have to leave me alone." I followed them to a Cadillac Escalade, and they got in the back seat. I moved my position so I was standing in the dark and couldn't be seen. Then I heard him tell her, "So do it, Sid." Holly pushed him away and got out of the car. I moved deeper into the shadows and watched her quickly walk to her car and leave. I was silent for a minute. I knew I had every word Carol had told me logged into my memory and could repeat it to Holly word for word. Wow, that was detailed. Thank you again. I may call you again. If things don't work out, I remember what you told me. Thanks again. I was shaking as I lay on the cold bathroom floor. Oh God, what did I do? Why did Thad have to come back to town? Then there he was tonight. What were the odds we would both be in the same bar tonight? I had not thought of him in years. Cell phone cameras are everywhere, and a friend of Sid saw us and got a video of us. I wonder what he recorded. Oh God, as I lay there, I recalled every minute of that night. It was Sid's first night out of town for the last time until next month. Some of the girls from the bank wanted to meet for a drink and dinner. I had not been out with them in a while, so I decided to go. I wasn't dressed properly, so I left early and went home and changed, putting on a party dress I had not worn in a while. It was short, but I liked how I looked dressed in it. I arrived as a couple of the other girls did. There were 7 of us, so we went into the restaurant for dinner. We had fun chatting and drinking as we ate through an excellent 4-course meal. It was delicious, and we were all full. The vote was we go down the street to Sessions, a new bar and dance club, and work off what we ate. I drove down 2 blocks, so I didn't have to walk that far later when I left for home. we all had shots, danced together, had more drinks, and danced some more. We made it clear to all the male suitors we were married and were not out trolling. As the night went on, a few girls left, and I was dancing with Mia when I was tapped on the shoulder and heard a familiar voice I had hoped I would never hear again. My, Holly baby, how are you? It's been years. My skin crawled as I turned around and saw Thad Rhymes standing there. I was shocked. I turned back to Mia, took her hand, and pulled her to the ladies' room. Once inside, I told her I did not want to dance with the man so that I would leave. Mia understood and agreed to play decoy for me so I could go. But when we walked out of the ladies, Thad was standing there. I sent Mia on and had to deal with Thad myself. Thad, I can't do this. We agreed when you left here 3 years ago nothing would ever happen again. Thad said nothing but pulled me out to the main room onto the dance floor. It was a slow dance, so he pulled me tight to him. He felt good, bringing back good and not so good memories. The song ended, and he pulled me to a table in the back. He tried to kiss me, and I told him no, I had fellow workers here, and that was dangerous, and we were done 3 years ago. We argued, and he threatened me again like he did 3 years ago. I had made a mistake that Thad knew about. He blackmailed me, or he would tell Sid what I had done. I slapped Thad. He flinched, then grabbed my hand and dragged me onto the dance floor again. We danced to a few songs. So after the last song, we returned to the table and argued again. I finally agreed to one last time. I went to the remaining girls, told them I was leaving, and walked to the door. Thad was there, and we walked out. As soon as Thad had me outside, he was all over me. Then he pulled me to his SUV, and we got in the back seat. He is just average. Sid is much bigger. I looked at Thad and said firmly, that is the last time, asshole, don't ever contact me again, or you will be very sorry. Before he could respond, I turned away, threw open the door, and jumped out of the SUV, running quickly to my car and leaving right away. I drove home as fast as the law would allow. I walked into the house feeling nasty and dirty. As I washed, I questioned if I would ever be done with Thad. I dried off and went to bed. I pulled Sid's pillow to me and held it tight as I softly sobbed as fear and worry overtook me. I was so worried that somehow Sid could learn about Thad and me. I would have to tell him about what I had done years ago, the blackmail Thad had forced on me, and what I had to do to keep him from telling Sid. How could I explain all of that? I knew that would hurt us. God, I never expected what happened Tuesday night to be discovered, but now it had been. What was I going to do? I got off the floor and took a hot shower to warm up. I heard the shower running. It was time to get this over and see where we were going. I had to know about what happened from Holly's perspective. Also, I wanted to know what Holly had meant by one last time. I thought I knew but wanted Holly to tell me. The shower stopped, and I heard Holly shuffling down the hallway a few minutes later. She stopped at the door and looked in. Sid, we need to talk, Holly said in a soft sheepish voice. I will decide when we will talk and what will happen next. You had better start planning where you will live after tonight because you may no longer be welcome in my house. What do you think about that? Oh God, no, Sid, please, I can explain. Holly crashed against the door jamb, sliding to the floor. I got up and walked to the door, looking down at her. Holly, where will you be when I want to talk? Holly looked up. Right here. I closed and locked my office door. I was tired, so I lay on the couch, covering up with a throw, and slept. Several hours later, I heard a knock on the door, waking me. Sid, it's very late, can we talk now? I looked at the clock, 1:47 a.m. It was late, and Holly had been waiting all this time. I folded the throw, placing it on the back of the couch. I walked to the door and unlocked it. I went to my desk and sat down. I waited. 10 minutes went by, and the door opened. Holly stuck her head in. Sid, can we talk now? Holly, make us coffee and bring in the cookies. Then we can talk. I sat waiting. I knew I was not divorcing Holly, but I was going to make her squirm more than she already was. Holly does not know that I know about her affair with Melissa and Cone 4 years ago while they were on a bank work retreat. She was so guilty about it, but she couldn't tell me. It was eating her up inside. A month later, we went on a weekend trip to the beach. One night, we drank a lot and did something crazy for us. It was so not Holly, or me, for that matter. But after all we had drunk, Holly got into it. Once we were in the room and seated, the music started. I laid $100 bill on the small table and whispered to the dancer, "She is Holly." Holly looked like a deer in headlights, her mouth opened, and she nodded, yes. God, I wanted to see this. I took out another 100 and laid it on the table. Holly looked at me, then the money. Melody leaned over. For 200 more, I can lock the door. I peeled off another 200 and laid it on the table. She looked at me and Holly and said, "I'll be right back." You want to do that, don't you? Holly slurred with a smile, "Oh God. Yes, yes, I will do it." She slurred, "Wow, that surprised me." Melody smiled at me as she danced in front of Holly. I smiled and nodded to her, giving her the go sign. Her smile widened. I could not believe what I was seeing. Call me. If you don't call, thanks. It was an amazing night, and the money was nice too. Got to go. By that night, I learned everything about Lady Love. I also knew a little about Thad. He had told me his infatuation with Holly, and one night, we were drinking in the backyard. And he commented about how good her mouth looked. The more he drank, the more he talked. He looked at me and laughed. Holly came back into the office with a tray of cookies and coffee. There were also 2 shots of amaretto. "So, Holly, what do you want to talk about?" "Sid, I have several confessions to make." "Wow, several confessions. I thought you only had one to confess to. It sounds like you have been a bad girl. So, get to it, this might be interesting." For the next hour, Holly told me about Melissa and their lesbian tryst. Then Holly explained about Thad, the blackmail. I sat listening seriously for the full hour, drinking coffee with amaretto and snacking on Oreo cookies. I only asked a question once she finished. When Holly finished, she was a ball of nerves, not knowing how I would react. "What do you have to say about that?" Holly's eyes grew wide when I made that statement. I could see she was crushed by what I said. "You have betrayed me with a woman and a good friend. I don't understand that. If you love me like you say you do, and we are life partners, why would you never come to me with any of this, especially, that then what would you do?" That was what I wanted. I wanted her to stand up for herself, not be a wimp like she was with Thad. That's right, stand up for yourself. Tell me what you are and are not. What are you, Holly? I am yours. Sydney. I love you. What aren't you, Holly? But for you only. I liked that. We would test that out a little later. Then what were you for Melissa and Thad? Holly looked at me, thinking. I have been a cheating, unfaithful, disrespectful wife. I don't deserve you. You deserve better than me. If you say you don't deserve me, then what should I do with you? Should I toss you out, divorce you, and leave you with nothing? What punishment should be inflicted on you? I waited for Holly's answer. I saw tears welling up in her eyes. You haven't answered me, Holly. Tell me, what should I do with you? Holly sat back on her haunches and took a deep breath. I think you should punish me any way you see fit. I will submit to anything you desire. So, Sydney, what type of punishment would you desire? I will let you do whatever you want, so name a punishment you think is appropriate. I had been good for 3 years, always doing things the slightest bit out of line. I was loyal and faithful until Tuesday night. Why did I let Thad back in? He was out of my life, and then, as soon as he was back, I just gave in to him. Jesus, am I that weak? I came clean, confessing everything to Sydney. I will submit to him for my punishment. Anything he wants to do to me, I will do to save my marriage. Anything. Sid is asking me to take my punishment, but I fear what I should say. I know he is going to add to it. I took a deep breath and drank my shot of amaretto. Sid, I don't know what to say. You know what you want to do to me, so I am leaving it up to you. Okay, Holly, since you can't even decide this simple thing, I will make it much harder on you. You will not like any of your punishment. So here goes. You will move into the guest room until the time the children return and maybe longer, depending on how I feel you are accepting your punishment. No one will know about what has happened, period. I will purchase a belt for you when you leave the house. When it arrives, you will wear it for 2 full weeks 24/7. Then, after the initial 2 weeks, your behavior will determine when I require you to wear it in the future. 12. The last and most important punishment is I want you to have another baby. That will keep your body fat and undesirable to other men, and most importantly, it will complete our family. That is my complete list. If you renege on any of these conditions, I will divorce you. I will document these rules, and you will sign the agreement along with the postnuptial agreement. Do you understand?